A desolate cave. The rhythmic sound of a pickaxe echoed. Then, from the dug spot, a few drops of liquid dripped out. The pale young man, happy to have found it. It was ink. The main credit for this achievement belonged to the cat, Nero. The young man believed that with this ink in hand, he would easily find a job. That was the city where he lived. People were crowding together to watch those vibrantly colored individuals. They were called the Colorists. Along with their glorious appearance are the legends of the immortal feats they have achieved. Wherever they are, that place will be safe. In the Shadow District, the main character finds his way to a factory. The recruitment notice clearly states that anyone who wants to apply must have color. The main character is thrown out like a bag of trash. Those people don't want to hire someone as lowly as him. But this time is different. He holds out the ink bottle he just found, hoping he would meet the requirement. But this ink bottle has no effect at all, because you're the one who is colorless. Everyone knows their place. He's the only one who knows nothing. After saying that, he blew a flame to scare him. That is the difference. Those with similar colors possess special abilities. They consider themselves superior to the rest. The unfortunate ones, like the main character, are exiled to the outskirts of the city, where everything is bleak. It is also a place where monsters run rampant, while those with color get to participate in searching for resources, or researching minerals, defeat monsters with their abilities, thereby becoming the elite class of the world, while the colorless can only do menial jobs. The door closed and his chance was lost. A Neko cat poked its head out to offer comfort. The young man would not give up so easily. His dream of becoming the greatest colorist. So he hid the cat away, and continued to search for other factories. A green-haired man saw him through the window. Clearly, that face was not a friendly one. He recalculated as he walked. Many places had rejected him. Clearly, it was an unlucky day. To a workshop, he dejectedly called out Marie's name. His hot friend turned around, smiling brightly, knowing that he had been rejected. Even though he was superior to the other colorless candidates, he was still just a colorless one. This guy is very good at gathering resources from the Black Land, but it was also thanks to Neko's help. By the way, he wanted to sell this bottle of ink. As it happened, the ink supply was running low, and the government needed more pioneers to go exploring. Ink, like energy, is too important to this world. Suddenly, Marie remembered something, then slammed a piece of paper on the table. It was a pioneer recruitment flyer from an S-rank pioneer team. Because their rank was so high, he had hesitated, afraid of being rejected, while Marie believed that someone with real abilities would be recognized. These words of hers, he had heard since he was a child. Marie always supports him, no matter his circumstances. So this time, he didn't want to disappoint her and himself. He held the recruitment flyer, then said goodbye to Marie and left. Walking through a deserted alley, he thought to himself that he had to prepare well. Suddenly, Neko popped out to warn him, because it knew someone was lurking behind. He raised his magic wand, firing a shot right at the main character's back. Before he could react, he took a second shot in the back. Two guys walked over. They obviously wanted to kill him. Through his blurred vision, he could only see the black cat crying. Then, in a wastewater treatment room, the main character woke up to find himself about to be dropped into the black sludge below by a guy with a mohawk. This madman declared that the wastewater was extremely toxic, and whoever fell in would surely dissolve completely. But who was this guy in the end? He didn't know him at all. He asked them why they attacked him. It turned out that ever since they were on the street, they had been eyeing his cat, a wise creature that helps people find resources. Nero was caught in a cage and sobbed bitterly. He tried to struggle, but couldn't escape from the colorful man. This cat was his only family, so there was no way he would give up easily. He braced himself. His whole body exuded a strange black color. The green-haired man felt something was wrong. Why was his green color being drained away? But he was fast enough to let go. The young boy sank into the pitch-black ink. Nero could only scream helplessly. As for him at this moment, his whole body couldn't move. Images of Marie and Nero the cat flashed through his mind. Kay felt as if someone was asking him something. His mind dissolved and then reformed, a voice wanting him to accept. His color. What color is that? He only saw a hand reaching out from the black and white void. Then the space turned pure white. It was as if he was split in two, living in two worlds. What on earth was happening? Even his own self was gradually being forgotten. He heard Nero's cry, saw two cruel figures on the shore, saw Nero crying. He had to save Nero. That was his only thought at the moment. Instantly, black ink billowed up. The two scumbags broke out in a cold sweat, because the ink below had completely vanished, leaving only a single figure behind. This is impossible. Then, a 10-meter-long hand as large as a pillar shot forward. The entire waste ink area has been destroyed. The side character was yelling at the police that he saw with his own eyes a giant arm emerge from the ground and destroy everything, and that unlucky guy was dead. No one mourned them because they were just some B-rank vanguards. The girl in purple was writing a report asking the red-haired guy why the color of these victims had disappeared. Who knows? They were only here because of a report about a giant entity appearing. Suddenly, the old policeman rushed over, timidly asking after the two renowned colorists. Then the police officer started to show them around. Inside was nothing but ruins. There was no trace of the monster at all. What was even more absurd was that a giant monster couldn't just appear in the city out of nowhere. All they could see were these small, ugly black and white creatures. The redhead suspected this was a new type of mutated creature, and with so many witnesses, they had to figure out a way to track it down. The two of them arrived at the center of the destruction. Kai was lying on the ground, awakened by his cat. He joyfully hugged it close, but he couldn't remember anything else. In his mind were a few vague, disjointed memories. It seemed he had been thrown into the black ink, but how was he completely unharmed? Moreover, his hair was as black as ink. How could that be? It was pitch black all around, and Kai couldn't see a thing. Nero immediately darted off to find a way. It spun in midair, turned himself into a bright light, helping Kai see clearly the countless tree roots and hundreds of lurking beasts around. A terrifyingly scary place. He wondered if it was the Black Land. It was most likely the Black Forest, where B-rank pioneers often came to work. The pitch-black beasts were advancing towards him. Kai immediately turned and ran. Suddenly, they encountered something. A snake lunged out from the bushes, but thanks to Nero's light, he managed to dodge. Both continued to move, running without stopping. A feeling surged up inside him, a sense of exhilaration from within his body. Not only was he not tired, he could also move faster, jump higher. His whole body was brimming with energy. Another monster rushed over. He hadn't even regained his balance yet, so he couldn't dodge this bite. But strangely, the unlucky beast broke all its teeth, could only tuck its tail and run. But Kai wasn't hurt at all. Normally, that would have been a fatal bite. He wondered if this was the power of color. Cho the cat reminded him, because there was something else. Huge approaching. A cyclops. It swung its arm, directly knocking him dozens of meters away. But it seems Kai's entire body now has excellent defense. He's even confident that he will win this fight. Ask and you shall receive. Let's see what he's got. No need to run anymore. Kai recalls the moment he slaughtered those two guys. Instantly, black ink billowed out, turning him into a pitch-black demon. Cyclops swung his arm forward. Kai stomped his foot, taking a stance. With a single punch, he tore the opponent's body apart, created a massive shockwave. With the momentum, he continued to soar into the air. He opened his eyes to see the entire forest. Isn't this color? But the ink faded quickly. He had no strength left and started to fall. Nero rushed forward. Kai understood that the more power he tried to use, the faster the ink drained. He had to figure out a way. That voice suddenly rang out again, telling him to hurry up, to devour it. Devour this corpse. Kai was about to lose consciousness. He was about to become an ordinary person again. Instinct made him follow the voice, raising his hand. He placed it on the corpse. Instantly, the monster's blackness was completely drained. Nero was somewhat horrified, and this process was quite noisy. The devouring ended. Kai's hair returned to black, and he breathed a sigh of relief. Back at Mary's shop, she looked towards the door, not knowing what strange dark figure was standing there, but she still smiled and greeted the guest, asking what the guest needed. The man just silently approached. Mari warned him to not get any closer or she would attack. Emboldened, Kai roared, intending to scare her, then told Mari to calm down. Kai is back, but even after he took off his hood, Mari still couldn't recognize him. This K was so strange. She cried out, wondering what had brought him to this state. After hearing the story, Mari wanted to get justice for her good-for-nothing friend. Kay said that they had already gotten what they deserved. For the past few days, she had been really worried about these two. The miracle was that he came back with color. Mari was worried that this black color would make people look down on him, because black is the color of monsters. Kay, however, wasn't worried about that. He first needed to go to the Pioneer Guild to apply for the entrance exam, and asked to borrow some clothes and personal items from Mari. Mari happily agreed, believing this was an investment in a future colorist. She took Kay by the hand, wanting to show him something that was a perfect fit for him. At the Pioneer recruitment site, a large crowd of candidates had arrived. Everyone was worried because there were too many candidates. The Dawn Pioneer Corps was a large corps and the dream of many pioneers, so the competition was also very fierce. This corps was also famous for its colorist members, who were known as the Hope of Shining City, which also meant many strong individuals wanted to get in. For example, the daughter of a traditional clan or a renowned bounty hunter, many other players. And here, the one known as the Tempest Sword, single-handedly wiped out an entire horde of monsters. But this guy was too brutish, so he lost his job and now he's here. The losers were still busy chattering, not noticing someone nearby. Meanwhile, the green-haired guy was sizing up everyone. He wanted to find an S-ranker in here, but couldn't find one. On the other hand, he thought that girl over there was very attractive. That's the daughter of the Cyan family. Her aura is truly different. Just as he was about to make a move on the girl, an announcement came over the loudspeaker. The exam is about to begin. On the stage is a person with blonde hair, a colorist from the Dawn Legion. This shows the Legion is very serious about this selection. Colorists are always a class apart. Then he said, "Welcome everyone," emphasizing that what they were looking for was real combat capability in the deadly Black Land. This test will be held in a tournament format. The rules are simple, the strong win, so everyone, use everything you've got. After that, he called out their names one by one. This green-haired guy was also someone with a reputation, but he seemed more interested in playing than competing. He always waited for the chance to toy with his prey. He was suddenly startled, because the opponent in front of him looked a bit terrifying, but strangely, the person had no powerful aura at all. He drew his sword, saying he was a little bored because his opponent wasn't doing anything. He swung his sword once, looking skillful. That was the Tempest Sword. Swords of light appeared around him. A perverted look appeared on his face. Then he immediately rushed forward, wants to cut Kay into pieces. He uses multiple sword strikes as a feint, then goes for a cleaving blow. This flashy attack doesn't fool Kay. He only needs one punch, sending the green-haired guy crashing into the wall. Damn it. Tempest Sword style? This genius was taken down in a single blow. Kay was a bit startled, so he didn't hold back. He accidentally revealed his hair. The crowd was immediately terrified. The blonde colorist's eyes widened, because no human has ever had this hair color. The storm swordsmanship genius was defeated by a black-haired man. Seeing this silence, Kay started to worry. The competition didn't stop for that reason. Kay's next opponent frantically shot earth and rocks at him with a look of horror. He was obsessed with the blackness that Kay possessed. But the outcome was no different from the first guy. Contestant number 286 kept winning. With overwhelming melee strength, the colorist looked down from above. The judging panel couldn't stop praising this black-haired boy. Suddenly, someone arrived. It was the redhead and the purple-haired one. The red-haired guy is their boss. Turns out these two dropped by to check things out just for fun. The case they were investigating in the city also hit a dead end, so they decided to drop by for a little entertainment. Unexpectedly, they recognized the heir of the Cyan clan and a special person as well. It was this black-haired guy, an unknown young man who had defeated many tough opponents. The blue-purple-haired girl immediately became suspicious of Kay. It couldn't possibly be such a coincidence, so they decided to keep an eye on him. Meanwhile, Kay below was confident that if he kept winning like this, a spot as a vanguard would surely be his. Of course, he also had to be careful, because if he used his full power, the black color would disappear. Suddenly, a loud noise rang out. The descendant of House Cyan had finished her match, with her opponent frozen solid. From the chatter of the onlookers, Kay realized that this girl was very strong and also belonged to a prestigious family. It would be unlucky for anyone who had to fight her. Kay stole a glance and was caught in the act, but the girl said nothing, just looking at him with a look of disgust. Meanwhile, Kay was secretly watching. Round 1 has ended. Part 2 will resume shortly, but the loser had to leave in regret. As the blonde was about to start Part 2 of the competition, the red-haired guy stopped him. He wanted to run it himself this time. The contestants were stunned, because they saw Colorist Red again, a pioneer whose destructive power made everyone terrified of being on a team with him. The blonde man asked the redhead if he had thought it through because their superiors wouldn't like this, but the redhead paid no mind. He authoritatively announced the new rule. It was to endure. Then he unleashed fire across the entire arena. All the contestants were engulfed in his flames. This wasn't lethal, but it was quite hot, because in actual combat, the environment in the Black Land is even harsher. After that, he watched them closely. Everyone grimaced. Because their powers had no effect, they could only endure. The blonde had heard rumors that this guy was very lazy and careless, but with this skill of Red's, he had to reconsider. Clearly, Red had reached a supreme level of power control, to be able to envelop so many people with his aura. Truly terrifying. Suddenly, in one spot, the aura was invaded by frost, and it exploded, as expected. The kid from House Cyan is truly a genius. What about the other guys? The black-haired boy was still silent inside. Red was curious why he didn't break out. Maybe it was because he had high expectations. In fact, Kay was also worried to death. He had used quite a lot of power before, and now the more he endured, the more his power drained away. If they saw he had no color, he would surely be thrown away again. Kay started thinking about finding something to absorb for power. Would this work? This aura was made from color power. He felt a bit hesitant, wondering if it would work. Anyway, there was no other way. He tried to absorb it. As expected, the fire's energy was devoured by his hand. Not only that, he also absorbed all of it from the others, turning it into his own power. This bizarre sight made Red and Yellow gape in astonishment. Red couldn't help but smile. Finally, to have found someone this crazy. Damn it. This was clearly not part of the plan. The blue-haired girl was stunned when she saw Kay. No human had ever possessed this color. A sense of unsettling fear grew within the girl. Her family and her strict older sister always forced her to conform to a strict standard. As for that bizarre black-haired man, he was very strong, unnervingly strong. She thought to herself, I absolutely cannot lose to him. As Red approached Kay, Red asked in a friendly tone if that was the power of black. Then he asked Kay to elaborate on this strange power, and he also announced that the boy had passed the test, which meant he was now officially a pioneer. Even though the competition was not yet over, Red decided to take the boy with him, leaving the mess for the blonde to handle. Nevertheless, the selection had to continue. The blue-haired girl was granted an exemption for her previous performance, while everyone else would proceed to round 3. And he was another special case. They took him to a certain place. Kay immediately broke into a cold sweat. It was the very place where he had been thrown into the black ink. Apparently, Red had made him the #1 suspect. 2 B-rank pioneers had lost their lives. A witness saw a giant arm rising from the ground. Then, Kay coincidentally revealed his dark power, with the ability to absorb colors. The more he talked, the dumber Kay sounded. Realizing he had been exposed, he started to plan his escape. Then suddenly, Red burst out laughing and said he was just kidding. It almost made Kay shit his pants. Red says that he's just curious about his ability. After all, each color is unique, and they cannot be mixed. Yet his ability ignores that rule. But it seems he can't control it completely yet. This Red guy is absolutely right. Then, Red wants to give him another test. This will help Kay understand his own ability better. By absorbing Red's color back, Kay is scared, fearing that an accident might happen, but he forgets this guy is a renowned colorist. In fact, Red is just worried that if this power is not thoroughly understood and controlled, it could destabilize an entire city. It's a known fact that the color black has always been a symbol of evil. If this boy turned into something else, Red would immediately carry out his mission. Then the test began. Kay just hoped nothing unexpected would happen. Then his power burst forth. Kay felt a stream of red-hot energy flooding into his body. Just moments later, his entire body felt like it was about to explode. So hot, unbearably hot, it felt as if an endless stream of magma was coursing through his body, and Red was like a sun. As expected, Kay was frantically absorbing. Red waited patiently to see just how much Kay would absorb. Then Kay exploded, slipping from Red's grasp. Half of his body was no longer in human form, and he struggled to control the awakening demon half. Red immediately confirmed that this kid was the one who caused that mess. But what needed to be done now was to get him back to normal before it was too late. Red hesitated a little, because he saw Kay's whole body trembling and twisting. Inside, that voice continuously urged him to draw more power. Kay used his mental strength, determined to suppress this demon, and he succeeded. Red was stunned, unable to believe that he actually did it. Kay was panting heavily. It was a close call. Everything almost ended. He told himself he had to practice and understand this ability more. So interesting. Now Red gets straight to the point, directly declaring Kay as the #1 suspect. With many witnesses, if convicted, Kay would have to pay up to millions in compensation. The more he heard, the more terrified Kay became. Red then said that if Kay wanted to get out of it, he had to go work for him, and before Red could finish, Kay bowed his head in agreement. Of course, these are special jobs for him. Even if it meant being a guinea pig, Kay had no way out at this point, so he still happily agreed to any mission. The old man, Red, immediately flashed a treacherous smile, asking again if you'll really do anything? Kay never thought he would come this far. He had truly become a pioneer. Suddenly, the green-haired guy called out to him, telling him to please sit still, because he was freaking him out a bit. These were the three who had been chosen. This guy, with the nickname Tempest Blade, and the young lady, a descendant of House Cyan. The last time he and Red talked, Red had asked him to go explore an unknown land together. Kay felt that this guy wasn't very kind, so Red added that other new pioneer members were coming with him as well, and the plan would be explained later. Because of the chaos during the selection, the organizers had given everyone another chance, including this green-haired guy. These two were both top rankers, so Red invited them to his team. Greenhair still couldn't believe he had been defeated so humiliatingly by Kay, so he declared that after the exploration was over, without this purple-haired lady by his side, he would crush Kay. But Cyan chimed in, saying that Green would lose anyway, even if he tried again. Clearly, Kay was on a completely different level than Green. Kay thought he had an ally, but to his surprise, she just rushed in to challenge him first. She believed they had silently challenged each other from the moment their eyes met. Therefore, it wasn't Green's place to speak up here. Kay froze, and then everyone fell silent. The vehicle continued to move. They were taken to an overland port. It was a transit station for the Dawn Vanguard Corps. Witnessing the S-Rank Corps in action, he couldn't help but be thrilled. Suddenly, soft fingers touched his cheek. It was Marie. It turned out she had also come for his first mission. And there was the ugly cat, Nero. Marie considered it her family. She was very excited to be working here, as all her skills became useful. Suddenly, there was an announcement to gather. They would soon be entering the Black Land. So Kay handed the cat back to Marie. Saying goodbye to his two friends, he had to continue on his way. Nero seemed very reluctant, so it decided to dash after him. Bizarrely, it disappeared into Kay's shadow. Mari was startled and wanted to call him back, but then decided against it. At the edge of the forest, the commander ordered all members to get ready immediately, and reminded everyone to be careful. According to information from the scout team, the beasts here are quite dangerous. Suddenly, someone came to inform Arancia that Boss Red had a new order for the new pioneers. It was for them to leave the formation without warning. Arancia was startled, then she felt helpless. Knowing that was how Red always was, she could only hope that the new recruits could return safely. In a region quite far away, Red was leading the group of new recruits. Kay asked Red if the place they were going to was safe, since they were all newcomers. He also mentioned he thought it was just him, not these two, which immediately made the green-haired one furious, thinking Kay was looking down on him. Old Red assured that it was also hard to get fatally wounded in this place, because he was here. Soon they arrived at the monster horde. They rushed out from the rock crevices, which was basically not a problem for Cyan. Even though it was also her first time in the Black Land, it was truly a real battle. Monsters poured out continuously, so she needed a proper strategy, or she would run out of energy first. She glanced at the weird black-haired guy, and saw him still fighting monsters with his bare hands. Damn it. She couldn't help but ask why. Kay was a little embarrassed, but honestly answered that he didn't even have a single weapon, because they were quite expensive, and he was fine using his bare hands anyway. A spoite is a weapon that every pioneer must have. After defeating a monster, they use it to mix their own color into the creature, as a way of marking their trophy. What a weird guy. The more she listened, the more it made Sunlaw tremble uncontrollably. To be that strong with just his bare hands is terrifying, but he refused to surrender. He declared that one day he too would defeat Kay with his bare hands. Red overheard everything from behind. He believed that Kay's appearance would ignite two other geniuses. Things were getting more and more interesting. Then he urged the rookies to hurry up and finish clearing so they could go celebrate afterward. The rookie team defeated the monsters without any difficulty. Red announced they had a 10-minute break before it truly began. Green took out a bottle of elixir. He had consumed too much energy. Kay saw this. He realized it was the ink bottle he often farmed for. This was one of the key items for the pioneers. Their price was not cheap, yet these people drank it as casually as tea, making Kay envious. Of course, he also needed to recharge his energy. Cyan curiously asked what he was doing. In an instant, the monster's corpse was sucked dry. The black ink merged with him. He was fully energized in just one go. It was a bit horrifying, so Cyan asked if he was really okay. Kay said he'd done it dozens of times, which made Green think he was even more insane. The break was over. Red led the group to another area. In front of them was a pitch-black barrier. They didn't know what it actually was, but this was the reason Red had brought him here. Then Red used an attack, shooting directly at it. After the shot, Red's energy was absorbed by this barrier, and it became harder. It seems similar to K's ability. Red believes that only K can neutralize this barrier, and behind it is the path to the ruins where their mission will be completed. There is something called a Stella fragment. No one had heard of it. Only K remained silent. Red vaguely replied that it was what Shining City was looking for, and he would elaborate later. For now, tear this wall apart. K stepped forward. He held out his hand. He tried to absorb the target. Instantly, the spiraling blackness was sucked into his hand. Red believed the process was going well. The pitch-black wall gradually faded, but it seemed that K was suffering. Suddenly, a tremor erupted. It was the roar of a beast. It seems their actions have alerted the surrounding monster herds. The other two froze, because these monster herds were so numerous. Now is the time for a real team-up. The other two will handle the monsters, while K unseals this barrier. Red ordered, kill them all. Immediately, the two rookies charged forward. Swordsman Green and Magic Swordsman Cyan started slaughtering the monsters, while Red would intervene from behind if necessary. Of course, the monsters were numerous, so there were still some left for him. Just like that, each person did their part. K absorbed this stream of energy and found it all too familiar. Even this barrier had a tendency to drain his energy back if he lost focus. Finally, he successfully absorbed it all. Revealing before him was a giant chasm. He reported to Boss Red that it was done. Red immediately smiled brightly, telling the other two to move quickly. Instead of wiping out the monsters, when a strange presence suddenly appeared. A strange sword slash tore through the air, wiping out the monsters in the blink of an eye. Red's group was stunned. Green was horrified, looking at the countless deep slash marks on the ground. Clearly, nothing was going to go completely smoothly. There had been prior reports of a dangerous entity appearing in this area, and perhaps is the one that's coming, with a strange demonic face, staring at them with deadly eyes. Red commanded, "Everyone get into the ruins now," encouraging that they were all very good and capable enough to find the Stella fragment and bring it back. But K couldn't bear to leave his boss behind. Red immediately pushed him into the hole. Only Red and the monster remained. A fight to the death. K hit the ground. He immediately felt pain. Luckily, he had this light that Red gave him. He shone the light around and saw that his surroundings were in ruins, like a buried city. K was stunned by the sight, unable to believe that a ruined city lay deep underground. Before he could even look for the other two, they both arrived. Cyan immediately blamed Green for getting them lost, while Green declared that she was no better. This place is huge. It will be very difficult to find the so-called Stella fragment. Not only that, the place was also severely lacking in light, and they only had a single lamp. If only the cat Nero were here. No sooner had he thought of it than the cat was clinging to his leg. He was surprised. How could the cat possibly be here? Cyan immediately narrowed her eyes, questioning K if that was a small monster. K was about to defend himself, but then thought it was just a small matter. Instead, Nero would open up an opportunity for them, so he decided to gather them. He declared that there was an easier way to find the Stella fragment. After presenting the plan, it seemed Green was still unconvinced, but Cyan had already picked up the cat and held it in her arms. Ignoring the two guys arguing, she felt momentarily healed. K was bitter because Green doubted Nero's abilities, so he was determined to prove it to Green and called Nero back. The cat hurriedly jumped out of Cyan's arms. It curled up in midair and transformed into a brightly shining cat star. Damn it, Green was slowly beginning to regret it. Then Nero led them away. Green still couldn't believe a monster would follow a human, let alone have special powers. What a weirdo. Everything he does is weird. K told Nero to find the Stella fragment. Then suddenly, the cat noticed something, shot off. Perhaps over there? Then it stopped at the entrance of a pitch-black passage. Seeing that K looked anxious, Green teased him, telling him to wait here. Of course, no one stayed behind. They proceeded deeper inside. A vast place, but it was unclear what it had been used for. Then Nero stopped in front of a large, closed door. Suddenly, a giant foot stomped on the ground, scaring the group and freezing them in place. What is that? A robot? It turns to look at Cyan. Then it recites a strange string of characters. Next is Green. Finally, K. It seems to be reading each person's color code, and K's color code is 6 zeros. The robot announces, "The Black Witch's color confirmed," and it proceeds to eliminate him. A powerful punch sends K flying. Luckily, he wasn't weak either. He was just a little surprised. The other two immediately rushed forward to protect their teammate. K would also make it pay for this, or their fists collided. This robot is way too tough. It continued to attack, but this time it was pushed back by Cyan's ice attack. On the right, it was hit by a powerful slash from Green. Unfortunately, the robot was practically unharmed. She observed something that looked like a core on its head. The fight continued. K was the one it was targeting. The robot took the hits and counter-attacked. K also soon realized that hitting the robot was useless. He suddenly remembered the time he was completely covered in black ink, believing it was worth a try, starting with just this one punch. Now, to wait for it to approach, and try the hockey-coated punch. Sure enough, the robot was smashed to pieces. The core on its head also shut down immediately, ending the match. He saw the core fall out. He must bring it back for Mari. She would be so happy. The other two saw the last strike, and immediately complained about why he didn't use it sooner. It was simply because that strike consumed a lot of energy, so he had to think carefully before using it. At that moment, the door behind them also opened. Nero rushed forward, trying to warn that there was something inside. K wanted to see if this thing was really safe. He touched the pitch-black darkness. Immediately, the darkness surged out, engulfing all three of them, then pulled them inside. Inside was a dark space where you couldn't even see your own hand. Everyone was terrified. K tried to call out to the others, while Green discovered that his colors had disappeared. Even the worst thing he imagined wasn't this bad. In Shining City, the Eastern Administrative Office, the boss here is furious, because Red has once again abandoned his mission without even finding the location. He even brazenly recruited a strange individual clad in demonic black. Even for a hero, Red has gone too far. Since the monster attack on the city, the council has been in a panic, believing it to be a sign of the monster tide's return. The old director is helpless, not knowing how to explain it to the council. Camellia, captain of the Dawn Vanguard Corps, she calmly sips her tea and tells the old man to relax, as Red always has a plan of his own. Red is no amateur. Remember that if he has to take a risk, it is only to serve his purpose. Camellia casually drank her tea, but it was too bitter. Clearly, she didn't care about the director's concerns, making him furious. It's not for no reason that this old man fears the color black so much. The disaster that pushed humanity to the brink of extinction, known as the Monster Tide, was also caused by the Black Witch. Although humanity was victorious that time, the next tide is certain to occur. It's only a matter of time. Humanity's frantic development of new lands is to find more opportunities for survival. Although the city raid and the appearance of the black-haired man seem related, the main priority for the Vanguard Legion is still to gather as many powerful individuals as possible, even if that person is a black. After hearing this, the old director seemed to calm down. What if the city could actually rely on him? Back to the other three. Green and Cyan had lost their colors, but K still had his. Then the other two felt as weak as an ordinary person. K felt nothing. Perhaps it was the first time they had experienced what it was like to be colorless. Furthermore, right when he entered this place, he had felt a very strange sensation. It was as if by simply concentrating, he could see everything. Suddenly, strange and faint voices echoed through the space. Green immediately gripped his sword hilt, on high alert. This whisper was just like the one in K's head. The sense of danger grew ever stronger. Then the whole group flinched and looked over. A figure was sitting there. That figure pointed its finger right at K. Then, the space began to distort. The vision twisted, appearing inside his head. A legion of shadows, with a sorceress reigning over them. The girl in black looked at him. K wondered if this was a memory or reality. Who was he, after all? That person said he needed a name, and that was also the origin of this name, K. The voice told him to find his own light and colors. K felt dizzy, but he still remembered the last image. A name appeared in his mind, Lumiel. Meanwhile, your two teammates haven't escaped the illusion yet. Black ink flowed from their eye sockets. One was crazily fighting the air, while the other was crying and apologizing. This is not good at all. K can't let them stay in here for too long. Just then, Nero rushed over with a trail of light. K was relieved that the cat was still safe. Nero immediately wanted to show him something. He would follow the trail of light it left behind. But first, he needed to wake these two up. Nero would lend a hand. A powerful light erupted, instantly dispelled the black ink on them. K told them to stay put inside that circle of light, while he would follow the remaining light to search. It felt like walking forever but getting nowhere. Then the whispers echoed again, and he was getting sick of this nonsense. Suddenly, a ray of light appeared ahead. He immediately immediately dashed forward. It was it, the one and only noble light, Stella fragment, but every time he looked at it, it looked different. You climbed up there, decided to take this thing, but when he touched it, a chain reaction occurred. Could he have accidentally absorbed it? Hopefully everything is fine since it was just a brief touch. As soon as the Stella piece was obtained, the dark shadow immediately disappeared. You could clearly see the other two down below. Then Kay cheerfully brought the Stella over, asking if they were okay. Their mission was complete. Green and Cyan both marveled at this thing, because it was so small, yet contained all the colors within it. The important thing is that it doesn't seem to affect Kay. But damn it. Nero opened its mouth and swallowed Stella whole, leaving all three of them speechless with horror. Kay shouted that it wasn't food, but Green had no patience, directly grabbing the miserable cat and shaking it frantically. Before the problem was even solved, the place had already started to collapse. The whole group made a run for it, dashing straight towards the open door. The main vanguard team was still mining. The female captain discovered the tracks of that dangerous creature. Without a doubt, those were the tracks of that madman. The madman they spoke of, scientifically named Demon Sword, was also considered the hand of the Black Sorcerer, a cunning, treacherous humanoid creature that always picks a fight first, a real nuisance. Afterwards, the female captain ordered everyone to pack up and prepare to head back. Although the expedition's goal was not yet complete, the supplies and resources they had collected were substantial. Safety is the top priority. As expected, she is a reliable captain. Suddenly, a burst of energy erupted behind them. From a distance, they could see the red energy was Red's. That demon must have appeared. In the span of a single breath, a barrage of energy blades shot towards them. The captain only had time to shout for everyone to get down. Then, she swung her warhammer up, smashing it straight into that giant energy blade. She declares the expedition over. Everyone hurries back to the base. The deputy captain will lead the group, while the female captain will provide backup for Red. Arancia leaps and darts off. At Red's position, the two are locked in a frenzied melee. The Demon Sword is one of the most dangerous monsters they know, famed for its extraordinary swordsmanship. He grips the sword hilt, preparing to launch forward. An extremely powerful long-range attack, but it didn't trouble Red. He knocked that sword aside. That was also when the demon swordsman closed in. How cunning. But this speed was still not enough to overpower Red. In that very moment, the ground exploded. The demon swordsman leapt to one side. While he was still in midair, Arancia shot forward like a bullet. She was exhilarated. She swung a hammer at the demon. The demon was slammed into the ground by a terrifying force. She landed gracefully. Red immediately complained that she was late, and it wasn't that the demon hadn't taken any heavy hits, but simply that it was incredibly tough. Illogically so. Now with backup, Red believed it would be easier to deal with this monster. Of course, no one wanted to see Red unleash his full power. It would be a nightmare even for his allies. Arcania buffed herself, declaring she would break this black hand. The demon simply remained silent. Unexpectedly, voices were heard from behind. It was Kay's group, making their way up to the surface. Finally, everyone had returned safely. It's just that, the situation in front of him was quite tense. With no time left, Red and Arancia immediately rushed forward. He told the kids to get back. Do not try to fight this thing. But the demon had already shot forward at supersonic speed. Green and Cyan drew their swords, and simultaneously slashed at the demon, but their spoites completely shattered. Both of them stared wide-eyed, able only to wait for death. The slash descended, chillingly sharp, but the one who was slashed was Kay. He had rushed forward to protect his comrades, and then collapsed like a felled tree. Green was stunned afterwards, and Cyan was grabbed tightly. He wants to take a hostage? He sure knows who to pick. Then he spoke, his voice strained and inhuman. Clear the path, don't chase. Then he continued to demand that they hand over the key. If they didn't obey, he would kill. Looking at Kay lying on the ground, Red was about to truly lose control. Meanwhile, Kay's hand twitched slightly. The demon demanded that they make a quick decision. The two heroes, though furious, dared not make a move. Suddenly Kay stood up. The demon turned back in surprise. The demon itself didn't know who this weirdo was. His whole body was even darker than the demon's. Not even demons had ever seen someone with this color, let alone a full version like this. Kay's arm even regenerated. Then he coldly reached out his hand. The demon didn't understand, but was quickly pulled in by an irresistible force. The two colorists watched stunned. All they saw was Kay grabbing the demon by the throat and lifting him into the air. Arancia quickly told the two rookies to back away. Even Red hadn't expected Kay could go this far. The scariest part is, he could become one of the witch's henchmen. The demon now realizes its existence is being stolen. This kid is too much like her. Without a doubt, the key is this boy. Dozens of mouths appeared from Kay. Knowing it is about to be devoured, the demon sword attempts to counterattack. It unleashes dozens of slashes, severing Kay's tentacles. While at it, he'll chop off his arms and legs as well. Dozens of fatal slashes are unleashed. It's just that, it was seemingly impossible to cut Kay's body. He had never seen this before. Kay gripped the blade tightly. While it was held in place, vicious mouths gradually crept up from the ground towards the demon, wanting to devour him. The demon jumped up to dodge. But once again, Orancia's iron hammer swung down with immense weight. The strike directly shattered the demon's sword. There was no other way. The demon itself knew the situation could not be prolonged. He at least knew what the key was, so he decided to flee at once without a second thought. Orancia, who had just finished warming up, cursed loudly at the sight. Red immediately gave chase, determined not to let the demon return to the abyss. Now, Red no longer needed to hold back. The crimson blade swung down. Its speed and precision were perfect. The chroma strike. It split the ground apart with terrifying heat. The demon lost an arm. The pain was indescribable, and this blow prevented him from recovering. Red continued to charge forward, unleashing dozens of slashes upon the demon. But it wasn't enough to take the demon down in one go, who growled that next time it would not be like this, and the key would be his. Then the sword demon plunged straight down into the pitch-black fissure. He had escaped. Red decided to stop the pursuit, as it was no longer a place meant for humans. Orancia furiously stomped her foot. Even though there was light behind them, this was the furthest they could go. The two of them stood looking on helplessly. This black land could be considered their shield. Luckily, these two rookies were still safe. But what about that other guy? Could he still be unconscious? Red was now truly worried. Although she knew he was dangerous, she never expected it to be to this extent. He even absorbed the black ink of this land. Not long after that, Kay returned to normal. His hair color also disappeared. Both were stunned. It turned out he had no color. Then Kay collapsed. Red now understood a part of the story. But what was his main purpose after all? Meanwhile, the demon returned to its lair, blood still pouring out nonstop. More importantly, he realized someone was already waiting, mocking his pathetic state. He didn't like anyone meddling in his affairs. And these two girls are vipers. They kept nagging nonstop, demanding the fiend to tell them what had happened. But looking at the fresh bloodstain on the floor, one viper guessed that he might have had a run-in with that person. The viper taunted that it was just because of his love for fighting. It was truly lucky to survive a confrontation with that madman. The sword demon truly had it rough living with these noisy people. Incidentally, she also told him that the Black Witch's curtain was now open, and she also asked him if he knew why it was opened. The sword demon got angry, declaring he had no obligation to tell these bitches. The viper thought he was really boring. As for the demon's sword, he harbored the dream of possessing the key for himself. That's why these damn women couldn't pry any information out of him. The vipers declared they no longer needed him, as they could investigate it themselves. There's a high probability this involves the humans in the city, so now they just need to herd the monsters towards the people, and clues will naturally surface. And so, they decided to create a tide of monsters. Return to the city. Red and his teammates took Kay to the infirmary. They didn't understand why a colorless boy would go to such lengths. More than anything, Red felt he owed him an apology. So much for no danger. Red held himself responsible for this outcome. After all these years, he hadn't changed at all. The more Red thought about it, the more ashamed he felt of his title as a hero. Seeing his expression, Cyan tried to reassure him, saying that at least they all survived, which was fortunate in itself. And they had the two captains to thank for that miracle. Cyan also promised to be stronger next time. Maria was here as well. Her mind was a mess, remembering when she learned those heroes would be on the same team as Kay, thinking he would be safe, but little did she know. Fortunately, the nurse said his condition would stabilize soon. Red talked to her, encouraging her not to worry too much, and adding that he wanted to ask her a few things. It was whether she had seen the cat, Marrow. Green immediately pointed out the cat. There you are, you little rascal. And while he was at it, he also snitched that this sneaky cat had eaten the only Stella they found all by itself. That moment really made Green look like an ass trying to explain to his boss. He immediately rushed forward to grab the cat, but but Nero was as quick as a flash. In the blink of an eye, he was back in Mary's arms. Red saw this scene. A familiar feeling suddenly welled up. Then from its mouth, or was it its butthole, the cat threw up that piece of Stella. Cyan breathed a sigh of relief. She had been worrying about how to get it back, and now, Red was able to complete the mission. So many lives have been sacrificed for this thing. A dark shadow appeared in Kay's mind. Demon sword, he slashed. Fear made him jolt awake. He sat up with a start. He saw everyone was gathered around him. He asked where he was and where that other thing had gone. And what was more frightening was that he had become colorless again. He was afraid of being fired. Just like at that moment, Red immediately reassured him that he had never expected him to do this well, that from now on they would work even more closely together, so he should cheer up, and welcomed Kay to his team. Kay instantly let go of his anxiety and broke into a smile, and immediately nodded in agreement. Then Red left to meet Lord Luminous, not forgetting to tell the new recruits to do as they pleased. Cyan turned to ask Kay if he remembered anything while he was unconscious, but he truly couldn't remember a thing. But she didn't believe him, thinking that he was hiding something. As for Mari, she had prepared something in case Kay lost his black. She rummaged through her tool bag. A bottle of pitch black ink was held out in front of him. She had found it at the waste ink disposal site. Cyan was a little scared, as it was clearly a lethal waste product, but Kay understood it was the very essence of his power. Without another word, he chugged it all down in one go, and felt alive once again. Kay Black has officially returned. Green was utterly dismayed to see this. Now he had to leave, so he wanted to say a few words to Kay. This monster regrew his arm from a stump. He even possessed an overwhelming haki, making him impervious to blades. Most importantly, Green wanted to ask why he had dashed out to block that sword strike. Weren't you afraid of dying? Kay hesitated. He said that he just thought he could block it with his own strength, but it was an unexpected failure, a remark that made Green boil with anger. He didn't need Kay's help, even if he wasn't as strong as Kay. Kay was also at a loss for words. Fortunately, Marie intervened. Green let go, then quietly walked away without another word. Cyan also left, not forgetting their match, but saving it for later. Marie and Kay should also head back. By the way, there's a gift for Marie. In this bag, it's the very core that he looted. Marie's eyes immediately lit up. Red now arrived at a castle of dazzling light. Standing on a high throne was the figure of a woman whose voice was as clear as a heavenly bell. Red brought some good news. Her prophecy had come true. They had successfully opened the witch's veil. My Lord Luminous,